This is IMT News.
देखती आंखों सुनते कानों, आपको रक्षंदा जाहिद का सलाम। आप देख रहे हैं IMT न्यूज फ्रॉम लंदन। यूनिवर्सल मेमन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की जानिब से 8 मार्च 2026 को जूम नेटवर्क पर खवातीन के आलमी दिन के मौके पर एक खुसूसी ऑनलाइन प्रोग्राम का इनेकाद किया गया। इस प्रोग्राम में दुनिया भर से 50 से ज्यादा खवातीन ने भरपूर शिरकत की और माशरती तरक्की में इनके किरदार पर तफसीली गुफ्तगू की। आइए देखते हैं ये रिपोर्ट।
And now I'd like to mention and introduce you to a special chief guest. Um, so Seema Malhotra, who is the Minister in Foreign and Development Office and also the MP of Feltham and Heston. It's truly a great honor for us to welcome her. She is our chief guest for today. And we are extremely privileged to have her on this special celebration of International Women's Day organized by Universal Memon Organisation in collaboration with Bazmenas. And with regarding Seema Malhotra, I would say that she's truly been an inspiration, not just as a leader for advocating for women's rights at a national level, but also someone who feels more like a family to us. She's always been a people-oriented leader, a family-oriented leader. I've seen her going into house, um, offering advice, offering support, unconditional support to people and everybody around us. Her approachable nature and the genuine care makes her stand out of everybody else. She has always supported Universal Memon Organization and the cause of Universal Memon Organization of providing free IT education to the underprivileged students, families, young women, young ladies who are not able to afford it themselves. And I would say her work reminds us of the importance of uplifting each other, inspiring hope, and also strengthening the community that we live in. So I would like everybody to please honor and invite and a warm welcome to Seema Malhotra.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mariam. I really am so grateful to you. And it is wonderful to join with so many wonderful women on this call and to be here in respect of International Women's Day and all that it means. And I'm very grateful also to Kansia Samia Chowdhury, who is also on the call, and for all the work that she does, and so many of you do across communities here and abroad. And I will say as well, Rita, just hearing some of what you said at the very end of your talk, it really did resonate with me as well. And the need for us to be so aware of the different cultures in which we operate. And indeed, when cultures are male dominated, and that is workplace culture or even society culture, that the voice and the space for women can be crowded out. And instead of being seen as, we must comply and conform with male-led spaces and ways of working, to recognize that sometimes the female-led spaces and ways of working can be more inclusive, can be just as successful, can be just as focused on excellence, can be just as focused on our prosperity and our fulfillment and contribution, but they can be done in different ways and can be respectful in different ways of different circumstances of family life, looking forward to be inclusive in different ways. And I think that is something that we learn from how women are involved in the community and indeed involved in our business world. It is women who get into spaces of politics and business and leadership that are often the ones that change the culture. They change the way we work to recognise that if we are to develop and enhance the contribution of women and people in all of our communities, then sometimes changing the way we work in order to achieve better outcomes is a good thing. And they build the case and they bring the leadership that helps make that change happen. And so I do want to start, and I sort of was sharing this, but firstly to be grateful to the opportunity to speak today, to say Assalamu alaikum to you all at this time, and to recognize also with Ramadan as well my best wishes a little bit earlier to you and to and to you all and your families from myself and all of our family as well. Mariam did introduce me in my work as Member of Parliament for Feltham and Heston, also as Minister in the Foreign Office for the Indo-Pacific, and also my work as a Minister for Equalities, and particularly focused on race equality, but also working on women's equality in the Labour government of Keir Starmer. And it is a huge honour to join in relation to and speaking on the occasion of International Women's Day, but also to very much thank Mariam Uma for all her work with the Ladies Wing, for all her efforts and passion for the work that goes on to support women and girls through the Universal Memon Organisation. And to also recognise Mr. Umair Memon, who has also always been so respected as one of our local leaders, who has taught me a great deal and really shared so much about the Universal Memon Organisation and its goals, and even new ideas like bringing us together on Zoom in ways that will empower women and encourage women to bring more change and to bring more inspiration to others. And I do recognise the work also that Harris and Mariam do, because it is through the leadership that takes that time and effort and passion that creates the space and opportunity for others to be coming together. And I will just say as well that truly to see the work that is ongoing with the free IT, as part of the mission from founder Umair Memon's passion for this, and to see the work of the Universal Memon and Women's Organisation that has been coordinating community and empowerment events for the last 3 years, and that strong commitment to the well-being and the progress of women and underprivileged communities. It is through doing good and doing well and supporting others to do well that we see that change in the well-being of families today, but also through women we see that change that's able to come for generations. When we invest in women, we aren't just investing in one person, we're investing in future generations too. And that has been demonstrated through research on what it takes and what it accomplishes when you support education for women and girls. And I come from a family as well where my grandmothers weren't allowed to go to school, weren't allowed to be educated beyond primary school. And that if we remember what it has, meant for them, unable to achieve their own ambitions, but their dedication to their families, to making sure that their daughters got an education, and their daughters have made sure that their daughters, in which I'm one of that generation, have got an education, has given us the opportunity to now be able to promote education for other women in our communities and across the world. And in this, we stand on the shoulders of our grandparents and of our great-grandparents and our mothers, to see that leadership and to then be able to tell and to share their story and use their story to be now the story of others. And I'm grateful as well to seeing that empowering women through education, through the work that's seen this leadership through the Memon Organisation and women's wing as well, ladies wing, to see that empowerment through education and also particularly through technology and IT, because without that, that opportunity for digital skills, you won't be able to open those doors, build confidence, and create that very important independence. So I'm very supportive of seeing this work going on, to see women leaning in, to see our young girls leaning in, and to see and to encourage all to see International Women's Day as that moment of collective recognition and celebration, of both celebrating our communities, women and our achievements, but also to recognise that empowerment must begin with opportunity, it runs with support, and it achieves outcomes with collective effort. And these are values that are at the heart of everything that we do. Now, I also want to mention about International Women's Day this year, because the campaign this year is about give to gain. It is a message for us as a society and a community that it's important to recognise the efforts of women and girls everywhere. The efforts of giving in our family, the efforts of giving in our community, the efforts of giving in our business, the efforts of giving in leadership. And it is in that that focus and that recognition that we in Hounslow, with the two local members of Parliament in the main parts of Hounslow, we will be having our own International Women's Day breakfast event, a networking event in which we will also be having awards for women in the community that will be recognising the efforts of women and girls and taking nominations from the community to say a thank you and to encourage others to be able to come forward and to achieve what they think is important for our community too. But I would also say that women's voices, as I think we also heard Rita say, are very important. Women's voices in our decision making, women's voices and leadership in politics, and how that matters for the challenges that we're facing. It's also why I'm proud that Labour is putting the progress of women and the voice of women at the heart of our missions in government, and how we look to renew our economy and to renew our businesses. Labour's manifesto committed action to tackle gender inequality, some of the work I'm also now taking forward as a minister, including how we strengthen our rights for women in work, how we're working to reduce the gender pay gap, and how we're working to halve violence against women and girls in our country. We are an outlier. We are a first to be able to have that mission be a mission for the whole of our country, to halving violence against women and girls in a decade. That is from the Prime Minister through the Home Secretary, through our Foreign Secretary, through our communities work, that we are committed to seeing this whole of government, a whole of society effort, and indeed to recognise that this work began over 30 years ago as well, with women who are now in the cabinet and as ministers, having worked on this ahead of winning power, to recognise that, you know, in doing all that we do, whether that's in championing women's safety, we're also championing women's equality and freedom, because safety and security are the foundations of opportunity. If you don't feel safe on your streets, you don't go out to get a job. If you don't feel safe and secure in your home, you can't seize opportunities to build new opportunities for your family, for your children. And it's also based on that very important premise that there is nothing inevitable about violence against women and girls. It can be intervened and it can be stopped. And that's why we make it a mission for government that's also about supporting interventions and education for men who may be adopting the habits that they saw when they grew up, to make sure that those interventions are changing behaviour, as well as making sure that we create environments that are more safe for women and girls, not just in Britain, but also abroad. We're also working to prioritise women's health. We're working with NHS England and Women's Health Ambassador to implement a women's health strategy. And in that, it's been important, and it continues to be important, that we take the voices of women where we are seeing that work going on well in our communities and our health service that's reaching in and tackling the issues that women are facing. And where we need to do more, that we feed that into the work going on to build a women's health strategy across the whole country. And our plans to make work pay are putting in stronger protections for pregnant women and new mothers at work, and also in tackling maternity inequality. We also heard, I think, with Rita about women's entrepreneurship. Look, I'm really, really proud that I also oversee some of the work of our Women's Business Council in government, where women business leaders and entrepreneurs are helping us to lead the way to change the culture in the workplace, to see the progress of women all the way to the top, to see the inclusion of women in areas and science and construction where they aren't well represented, to also change the culture, to be bringing on the most and the best talent in every sector of our economy, but also recognizing that if we don't focus on the gender entrepreneurship gap, if we don't focus on making sure that women have access to investment and investors in their businesses, we know, and the estimate is, that the lack of equality in entrepreneurship costs our economy £250 billion. That's the estimate that's been made. That's why we work across government with renewed women's entrepreneurship strategy, with the British Business Bank and other sources of investment, focusing on how we're working with the Invest in Women's Code that's looking at hundreds of millions of pounds that we are wanting to lever in to invest in women-led businesses. Because we know when we get it right for women, we're getting it right for everyone. So I'm really pleased that alongside this work, the Employment Rights Act, the work we're going on to close the gender pay gap with new action plans, the way in which we're improving the system of parental leave, the way in which we're making flexible working more easily available, that matters. And it all starts with you. And that's where I want to express my thanks to Marianne, because she and I work closely. I'm always keen to hear from her what the ladies are sharing through the networks. And I want to therefore express my thanks to you for all your work as role models as well for the next generation. You are all demonstrating what it takes to be successful, to tackle the challenges you face, to make sure that you can be there as role models for girls coming forward in family, in community, in countries, and to recognise that when you make change happen, you are doing it in their name as well. So let's join together in a shared mission of empowering our women and girls, inspiring others to come forward, and this year celebrating all of those who give, whether that is through mentoring, through business, through education, through public service, through community service, through family. This year's theme of Give to Gain, let's celebrate all of the women in our communities and girls that give, and how that helps gain in all of our areas, and let's celebrate them and recognise them all this year. So my best wishes to all of you for International Women's Day. Thank you.
Rakshanda Zahid, IMT News, London.